Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Patrick Dunn. I am the Executive Director here at the New Haven Pride Center, and I use he, him pronouns. I am super excited to welcome you all to our conversation that we're having today with the incredible Sev7en Taylor, who is someone I've been a big fan of for years, ever since the first time I saw him perform at Pride when he was like 4 or whatever, however young he was at the time. But super excited to welcome here today. We're actually not necessarily talking about his music today, although you will probably hear about it because I can't imagine a conversation with Sev7en without talking about his music at least a little bit. But we're here to do a conversation with him because he's also an incredibly talented and recognized author. And he's from right here in New Haven. So we're super excited to highlight him and also have the awesome Jonah here to moderate the conversation, who performed with us for our Day of Action in June and has been a friend of the center for many years. So we are super excited to bring these two together. And we found out an hour ago that they know each other, which makes it even better for conversation. So anyway, my name is Patrick. I'm excited to welcome you to this conversation today. Before we begin today's program, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the land on which the New Haven Pride Center lives and operates. The New Haven Pride Center was founded and operates on the traditional lands of the Mohegan, the Mashantucket Pequot, the Eastern Pequot, the Shattuck, the Golden Hill Pawcatuck, the Niantic, and the Quinnipiac peoples. We hope that from wherever you are, you will take a moment to acknowledge and honor the Native peoples whose land you occupy and that we all occupy together, and the shared history of these places. You can learn more about Native lands at native/land.ca, which is right there on the screen. Again, we are super excited to have today's conversation. We love doing programs like this that highlight the humanities, and particularly who highlight the incredible artists and writers and creators here in New Haven. So with that said, I'm going to stop talking because nobody wants to listen to me. And I'm going to bring Jonah and Sev7en onto the screen with me and pass it over to the two of them. Have a great conversation, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Hi, everyone, and hi, Sev7en. And I'm going to refer to you as Sev7en instead of Trayvon, if that's okay. I prefer that. All right. Again, everybody, my name is Jonah Craggett. My pronouns are he, him, and today I have the honor of moderating the author talk with the New Haven Pride Center and the very talented and very beloved Sev7en Taylor. Before I begin, I would like to take time to acknowledge the indigenous tribes whose land I'm currently occupying. And that tribal residency is the Pawcatuck and the Wappinger. Again, if you would like to know what tribal ancestral lands you are currently occupying, please visit native-land.ca. Again, that's native-land.ca. I want to thank everybody who's on and listening, wherever you may be. Without further ado, our guest author today, Sev7en Taylor. Oh my gosh, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, everyone.
It is so amazing to have not just a profound author of color, Black author who's here with us, but one from New Haven who knows New Haven. I so appreciate that. Everybody, Sev7en Taylor in his book shares his journey with us. It's called The Principles of Permission, Shifting the Mental, where he takes readers on a journey to unlocking their inner and outer success. Sev7en, do you want to just tell us a little bit about that book and what inspired it?
Okay, so I had just wrapped up writing, because I wrote 2 books that I released this year. One was Blood Moon's Conversation with My Ancestors, which speaks to the shadow self and different traumas and stuff like that we kind of laid dormant in us until activated. And then I was in the gym with my partner, and I was listening to Lisa Nichols, and she is someone that's an author as well, and she's an entrepreneur and just many things to me, and she became like kind of my imaginary mentor in a sense. And she talked about dying to old forms of self and how we die to old forms of self in order to birth the new people that we become, and I was listening and I'm working out, and then the principles of permission popped into my head. And I said, oh, it's gonna be the next book. And I was like, you know what? Let me challenge myself to write another book, two books in 1 year. Well, third book, because I'm working on another one. And I went upstairs after the gym session, and I just started writing. And I started just really pouring out a lot of my own mental hacks and secrets that I feel like will change anyone's life if you apply them.
Wow. So it just came to you. That's be constantly in tune does that, I'm sure. So
Right.
what if you had to sum them up, and I know that it's going to be more elaborated in the book, of course. What is principles of permission? What are they? What does that mean?
So the principles of permission means basically we as individuals unconsciously or consciously sign up for the terms and conditions of others. So how someone is going to treat you is how the book breaks down that treatment.
Come on, T.
Right, okay. So if you deal with someone that treats you good, you sign the terms and conditions of a good treatment. If you deal with someone that treats you negatively, you deal with that experience as well. And sometimes unknowingly we don't know that we're dealing with these type of individuals until the experience itself, the relationship itself takes off.
Wow. So the book is kind of like a spot the red flag, a map for people to see what contracts they've signed unintentionally. Right. Okay.
Right. And it also speaks to just yourself as well, because we're signing contracts for ourselves. You know, if you realize that today you should have, read a little bit more, did your yoga, went to the gym, etc., but you keep delaying it, the contract that you're signing to yourself is to be absent to better versions of yourself. Like now you're negating the fact that you should did a little bit extra today. You should have got out today, you should have read, you should have wrote that book you've been waiting to write. So you got to give yourself permission to be the most authentic self.
Oh, so it's tangible self-care. You are first of all, my edge is going now because you're coming for me. You're coming for my wig, Seven. You're coming for my wig, Seven. So so you're a musician as well, and a lot of your fans recognize you as a musician, even though you're an extremely talented author as well. But in the vaguest sense, how was Seven born? Because you seem to have so much awareness of, I think, the things that would cause a lot of people to be stuck in cycles of toxic love and lack of self-care. And you seem to have birthed, you did mention, about who you're becoming. You seem to have birthed Seven from the mud and clamor of, your life in New Haven. So how was Seven born?
Wow. First of all, I love the breakdown of it and the question. And to answer that question, Seven was born out of breaking limitations. The first limitations I had to break was myself. I had to learn that what I feel, what I think, what I prescribe myself to do can be of profit if I allow it to be, because I got to give myself that permission to, like, hey, go to the studio, hey, write that book, hey, do that interview. I got to put myself in profitable situations. And, many people that know from interviews I've done in the past, I had a moment in 2019 where I was temporarily homeless in a sense, where I was going post to post, dealing and seeing people in their rawness. And I remember my mind went on autopilot. And at the time when I was working that, little 9-to-5 job and stuff like that, I was in autopilot. I wasn't dealing with my emotions. My main thing, my alter ego I was living was just get things done. Keep tunnel vision, focus, get your money, save your money, etc. And to the point that when I actually got to, to where I'm at now, I would say like a year or two ago, where I got more stable as an individual independently, that's when I allowed those emotions and those things to come forth and deal with them. And a lot of people are going through that same experience where they're on autopilot. They're not dealing with nothing. They're not reacting to nothing. They're not understanding exactly what's going on. And it's a fight in you. And I wrote the book and I speak of experience where if you got a fight, if you got a dream, if you got a passion, if you got something that gets you up in the morning, hold on to it. You know, really, really digest it as much as you can, because there's so many people that you'll see that they're just not there. You know, that passion has went and has gone. And I feel like Sev7en Taylor, he was just born out of someone that just didn't allow that passion to go. Even though I experienced what I experienced and dealt with what I dealt with, something was just holding on. And I just kept holding on to that passion. And I was just like, all right, let me use it to get to where I need to get to.
Yeah. Why 7? Why the name 7?
Well, okay, so I'm spiritual. The 7 is the number of completion in the Bible. And I feel like everyone strives for completion itself, art, life, etc. I will want to leave this journey, this experience in this body being and feeling completed. Like, okay, I put books out there, I put music out there, I did interviews, I did things of my wildest dreams, and I
paying your dues.
Right, paying my dues in the streets, you know.
In the streets, yes.
You understand me. But just doing my thing and not regretting things. I didn't want to ever be one of those individuals that got older and regret.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the most biggest slap in your face, to get to a certain age, a certain point in your life, and you regret the fact that you just did not enjoy yourself and you didn't push yourself as much as you really could have.
Yeah. 7, it's first of all, it's just thank you, one, for choosing and giving yourself permission to be brave to do that, right? But even more so than anything, just the idea that you, if you were to disappear into smoke right now, you have left a legacy already. You talked about overcoming thoughts and breaking your limitations. And one of my mantras have been giving yourself permission to be free, right? And so many people can't do that, and fear is a crippling thing. Fear will keep you in bed, in place, from moving, even if you're on that autopilot, right? And I'm sure you've had to overcome fear.
Of course. Fear is something that in Black and brown communities stagnates. You know, and fear is that kryptonite to our Superman. So it's like we gotta really maneuver ourselves out of that fear, because one thing that I learned being in this dimension is that everything is obtainable.
Yeah.
That was the secret. That was the recipe. Everything is obtainable. We lived in a space and place that we felt like things was not obtainable. Can I get a place like that? Yeah, you can get a place like that. Look, I'm in one right now. I can do music. I can talk to people that I never thought I could talk to. Everything's obtainable. You just got to put yourself in that direction.
Yeah. And it's funny too with fear. Fear can manifest in ways that's not traditionally recognized as fear, right? And you talked about that negative thought, or that breaking out of that thought process, because sometimes we will disguise our fears as safe, being overly cautious or being reasonable, right? Can you talk a little bit about some of the risks that you had to take? Because I'm sure, you talked about that 2019 stint with homelessness, and how did you balance between making rational decisions that prioritize your safety? And I'm sure a lot of our listeners are thinking about that, where safety, and that's something that a lot of Black and brown people don't have the privilege of, is excluding or being hyper aware of us being safe and safety. How did you justify living a life where you had to be safe all the time and think about saving money and you never know what can happen, versus giving yourself that permission to be free and occupy space in this place?
Oh, yeah, you got this good heavy packed punch question. It's actually great. I'm actually feel like I'm astral projecting to that moment in my life. I think, so I was leaving New York, and I was kicked out for the second time by my mom, and I told myself that second time was the charm, and I'm not going back. And I remember I had enough money in my bank account at that time to put me in a hotel for a week. And I was like, okay, you got to strategize from here. You got to figure it out. You got to, what's the next move? What's the next thing you're going to do? So even when I was in the hotel, I didn't sleep with the lights off for some apparent reason. I just felt like that person that I needed to become every day that I was going through that experience was just chipping off little by little. And I realized, okay, take more hours, do this, I was optimizing a lot of this, dimensional things that we can do, extra hours, staying late, covering shifts. But I realized that I wasn't really, really tuning in as much as I can to really get myself out of the situation. So I had to step back. I had to think. I had to be rational. And I was just like, okay, whatever opportunity you do get to get a place, whatever it's a roommate situation, whatever the situation is, take it, because that's gonna at least give some elevation to things. And I did. I went to like a rooming house, boarded house thing and stuff like that. That was like the start where I started at, and I was there, and I went to work. I didn't really interact that much, but I was able to start being able to exhale a little bit. And I think when we do face situations that kind of cripple you or feel like it's pushing you in one direction, we have to sometimes step back. You got to step back and look at the bigger picture. That's how you find the solutions and every problem. And I don't really have problems. I have challenges, and I conquer them every day. But whatever challenge that you have, there is a solution inside of it. So sometimes you just gotta step back, widen your view on things.
Absolutely.
And, just allow that survival of the fitness will kick in. That's what you gotta do. But just know that you are not the only person that's going through that. So you have the comfort of knowing that if I can get through it, you can get through it too.
Oh wow, that's so inspiring. So it's operating in survival mode without being swept up by it, and always having that dream at the forefront. You sound like you could have been bussing tables and doing whatever, and always had that dream at the forefront.
Right, it's driving you.
Right. It makes me think of, I don't know if you've ever seen Glee, right? Where there's a character, Rachel Berry, she's on the elliptical, and she's got the picture of her on Broadway.
Right.
Her,
and
like,
it's just
always
ready. In her subconscious.
So Sev7en is all about becoming, and all about realizing and giving permission to utilize the dimensional space that you have, and planting your foot firm. But how does that translate between the different mediums of your art? So what are the differences between Sev7en the writer and Sev7en the musical artist? What are the differences between them, if there are any?
Well, no, there is some differences. I feel like right now I'm in author mode. So the writer is at the forefront. I feel like they're both intellectual. They're both intellectual with the wordplay, the music, the bars, and then also the wordplay and the literacy world. I think the author is the one that just gravitates to just find things, like art. Art speaks to you in different vibrations, and how I perceive the art piece, you might perceive it differently. So he likes to nitpick at those things. He likes to dissect the brain, the psyche. He wants to know what's under there. What made you decide that review or your own perspective of that? And I think when it comes to the musician, he's all about competing with self. Like when I rap and stuff like that, I like to compete with myself. I like to outdo my last bar that I said, my last role that I performed. Yeah, so he's like...
Don't make me put you on the spot with a freestyle.
Right, okay. He's very much just driven off of completing different things that, like I can listen to Nicki Minaj or Missy Elliott or Lil' Kim, Jay-Z, etc. People that inspire me, Foxy Brown, and even after their generations. And I can see where I love that. I love the fast flow. All right, let me practice fast flow. I love being articulate and executing bars. So it's just all about competing with myself. So when I'm actually writing my music and performing my music, I'm talking to myself. I am my own competition, and that's what keeps me on the innovative side when it comes to music, because I gotta feel that vibratory energy to step it up. But they both, in a nutshell, to answer your question, they both coexist with each other, but they have different demands and properties.
Yeah.
You know, they just have their own department. Like, hey, don't come over here, and I ain't go over here. You know,
okay.
That's how they are in my mind.
So you're clearly a double threat, maybe triple, quadruple, depending on whatever talents you get moved on. But which one do you feel may come more naturally, or which one, I would say, if you favored one? You talked a lot about competition with the self when it comes to music, and I heard such a vibrancy there. But like, which one do you feel? Because it seems like you're getting in like so many different zones of yourself to reach this kind of inspiration. Is there one that comes more naturally, or how does that how do you divvy that up?
I think because when I do become Seven, I channel him. Like he's someone, like before the camera and all this stuff like that, I would just come out of the gym sweating and you know, and living in Trevon's world. But I think what happens is Seven is like the portal to the talents.
Okay.
And then the talents itself are personas. They're entities, deities, whatever how you want to go deep with it, and they come through and perform what they need to. So Seven needs the stage, he needs the studio. That's his forefront. That's the music side of me. The office side of me needs a blank screen of paper and all that stuff like that to get his thing going. And then there's the other ones because I've been diving into other dimensions of business. With myself, with a journal line. I have a journal line for mental hacking and
awesome.
Just keeping your mental health order together. Oh no, so just I mean I do know. Let me say I do know. I think what it is that it's just a portal. I just step into a portal, and whoever wants to come forth, they come forth. And whoever wants to wait for their turn, they wait for their turn. But yeah. I guess I'm a very interesting person.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, it seems like you are in complete control of how you shift between, you know, what stratospheres you want to touch into, and the environment plays a part of it.
No, it definitely does.
Yeah, speaking of environment, and this is in contrast to all, or in regard to all of your art, what communities have you found have been your biggest supporter?
As far as like gay, straight.
Well, that can be the LGBTQ plus community. That can be, you know, in New Haven. That could be, just anything.
I feel like I get love all over because I be played in Europe. I be played in Dubai, all different types of places. When I look at the statistics and stuff, when I look at that, I think I just gravitate to anyone that really want it. You know, like there's something that you see when you watch an interview or read a book or listen to some music that you can feel that vibratory energy. Like they wanted this, you know, they want it. And I think that's my audience. Like they of course, they come from different agricultures, LGBTQ and straight, etc., heterosexual, you know, and all those different dimensions of selves. But I feel like in a collective, they are all just individuals that want it. They desire something, and sometimes we use things that we see to give us that inner energy, like her being on the treadmill and looking at a picture of herself. You know, we need something to feed that subconscious to tell you to get the hell up and get to your thing.
That's right. And I love too that I can tell that you create art that isn't wholly for yourself. You create art to be that thing that someone dangles to become their best self, or even to start the conversation.
Yes, yeah, because I'm talking to myself a lot through my art, but I'm also talking to those that just have that familiar start. Like, hey, I'm in this world. I want to figure things out. I want to create. I want to be an artist. I don't really want to live that dimensional world. I want to be in this dimension where my art and everything I do is just magnetic to me. So
yes,
I would say.
Oh my gosh. So just the idea of like community and experiences is being used. You channeled three very different experiences in your debut novel, The Project of Being a Woman, which follows the lives of three different women. What was the inspiration that you drew from to create these contrast story of women? And can you just tell me a little bit about that inspiration, about drawing that experience?
Of course. So when I went to go write The Project of Being a Woman, in the process, before I even, did my own self-publishing and stuff like that, I was in the midst of a book deal. Someone that scouted me at 12 years old. I realized in the meeting that person was not really viewing my art. They just kind of just had a dollar sign in their head, and they seen me looking like a life-size dollar sign. So it wasn't really like they were getting me, and they want the characters to be teenagers. I've already read enough grown teenager books doing adult things. I wanted to speak to those that have dealt with infidelity, rape, mental illnesses. So many things I talk about in that book. But those are a lot of key subjects that I hit on, and I felt as though The Project of Being a Woman was just many women that I met, but I merged them into solid characters, not to ripple or take from someone else's stories and stuff like that, but to be inspired enough to create these complex women, Black women, because they're all Black. I wrote them all from Black descent, and just tell various stories, because I feel like Black people in general, our storylines and our narratives are always in a more stereotype narrative, tunnel vision, and they don't really give us much spaces and places to be of various, or expanding who we are, or rising. So I wanted to be that person, to be able to create that type of work, and then when that work goes into maybe a movie adaptation or a TV adaptation or something like that, here I can employ more Black actors, and more people to play roles that challenge them instead of the stereotypical thing that we see.
You are very, very forward thinking. So, like, you said that the characters in that book were based on a lot of women in your real life. And what are some of the experiences and some of the nuances that were the hardest to put on paper? Because, it's one thing we live it and we see it, but what challenges did you have taking those experiences and so much that's in there and putting it on paper?
I think I wouldn't say it was any challenges. I would say it was much more of like, ooh, we want to kind of a little deep, moments when I was writing it, because I was writing that book. It took me a month to write that book. Wow. It was like 300 plus pages. And I was actually taking college classes as well in the afternoon and stuff like that before I even figured out that kind of wasn't my route to go. But I just, did the dabble and see like, hey, what it is. But I think what I was doing was going deeper into the psyche of us. Remove the gender out of it, just the psyche of who we are, these beings, this avatar that I am, the avatar that you are, and seeing what is actually sitting and relying in that subconscious area of your mind, where trauma happens and we kind of just put it to the forefront, to the back front of who we are. And then you can smell something, touch something, be around something, watch something, and then it brings you back to that moment where that trauma, that thing happened. So I think my main focal point when I was writing that book was, let me go deep into these worlds that live inside of us and see exactly how I could bring it to the light and show it in its most rawest, purest form. And that was my challenge. I think I succeeded at that, at that.
Yeah. So I just want to open up this time for anybody who's in the audience. If you have any questions, you can go to the chat box and type them in so that we can ask and to answer your questions. I'll be getting notified so that I'll be able to read them off to Sev7en himself. But in that meantime, Seven, I'm gonna use the time I have to ask my questions.
Right.
Because,
Okay.
oh my gosh, what insight. And then so let's shift kind of the conversation to New Haven, right, and into the current book, right?
Right.
How has your writing process changed from that first novel, which you wrote in a month? Oh my God! I think like that reminds me. Zora Neale Hurston wrote Their Eyes Were Watching God in a month while doing anthropological work. Oh my gosh,
Right.
and you're definitely channeling that. What
Right.
what different in I guess process, and that could be anything. That could be having more or less time, or just for your mindset. How has the writing process for you as an author changed in between the project of being a woman and the principles of permission?
Well, I would say I definitely got more experiences in because the project of being a woman and the principles of permission, they have a 5-year radius between each other. And I'm very big on having experiences write or create itself into my work. So I lived through the temporary homelessness. I lived through dealing with the ugly side of me. I lived through unhealthy relationships to get me to healthy relationships. I had to go through that whole the metamorphosis of change, become the caterpillar, then to be the butterfly. And I think what adapted and changed in my writing was the experience. The skill was always there. It's the experiences is what fueled the skill to even expand beyond my last.
That part.
that part right
The
there.
skill was always there.
Right.
The experience fuels the skill. That part. Come on, friend.
Okay. Yeah. So it's always there, and I think what is important is that we know that your talents, those things are still there, even when you don't use them. You just got to give it some fuel, put a little gas in it. Okay.
Yeah. I like that. Can you tell us a little bit about your New Haven? And we know that New Haven means a bunch of different things to different people, but even hearing about the you talk about the traumas and the obstacles that you've had to overcome, and then I'll take a question that we have. What is your New Haven?
What is my New Haven?
Yes. Can you define your New Haven?
I would say New Haven is a place that has a lot of talent. Because the environments that we live in or we temporary live in, moving on up in your life, sometimes could stagnate or make those dreams, that passion, those things that you feel so of reality, and I had to push past a lot of the poverty and just negative thinkers, negative nayers, people that just kind of never really went beyond the hood, and New Haven could be a beautiful place, and I think what will really put it on the map and put it in the best light is give the people here more spaces and places to create and do and become. Stop making it so parking lots and all these different things that I keep making that we really don't need. How many parking lots should I make? How many? It's just like I think they drop the ball a lot when it comes to the creativity and where we can spotlight those type of creative narratives. Our people and to the people that do go beyond it, like myself, like yourself. Kudos to us, because we kind of just went past that illusion. Like, everything's obtainable. I'm living my best life. I can do what I could. I can create my own reality, and that's that. That's my thesis, and I'm sticking to it. So that's definitely what I feel.
And so I love that you mentioned, getting past, what we see in that New Haven. Like, there's definitely, we know there's two New Havens. There's the, the inner city and the downtown regions, and both are at so much at such odds with one another, and they both have their own benefits and setbacks. And
Right.
your work is kind of bridging that gap, right? It's speaking to the inner city of New Haven. Remember, we do have them days on Vernon Street, okay?
Right.
Where there's this rich community and diversity of talents, right? But then there is the elevative part and the artistic part on the other end of the bend, where we're thinking downtown New Haven and Yale as that epicenter, but the two don't necessarily converge, right? One doesn't necessarily support the other. And as you're someone who your art is focusing on the duality and on duality, can you can you talk about what is it like for you to walk that line and one day you got to be red and one day you got to be blue and there's shades of purple in between, but what is that like for you as an artist?
Yeah, okay, these heavy pack punch questions. I love it because it's challenging me in a good way. What I would say is that I had to have very much tunnel vision for a while. Like I had to understand that everything out here that when you leave out your house, you see advertisement everywhere. And then you see people that are advertisements into different lifestyles. People that are on drugs, people that are not on drugs, people that do this, people that do that, people that don't prioritize themselves, people that are prioritized. So I had to look at the tunnel vision of my life and say, okay, if I want to get here, I need to do these type of things to get here. And I can't really let the advertisement, the matrix, and all these different things that's going on to really come into my space, So I feel like it's important that if you are someone on this live, on this stream, that is trying to achieve something, the main thing you need to do is remove the noise. The people that's really ain't saying much, the people that really ain't doing much, the cultures and places that you go in that really don't give you that kick, that push, move it out your way. Because the only thing it does is stagnate you and then hold you back. And also, move out of your own way.
Okay. Right. This is man versus self.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. What are and I know we talked a little bit about fear, but is there anything that in your journey in becoming that you're still fighting yourself with, and that maybe you can help the audience as far as how to overcome that, or how you're overcoming? We talk a lot about the things that we've been out of, but we've been through, but not so much the current. If there's anything, what are some of the tips and techniques that you can use as an artist, as a creative, to say, all right, girl, I know it's hard, but this is how we power through?
Right. I think what the best thing for people to do is to find your inner self. Find that person that if you are having a current problem that is childhood related or current self related, what I do is I dissect what it is. Write it out. What is this formula that keep giving me the same experiences? What am I doing that keep allowing me to feel in this negative vault of feelings? And then I dissect it, break it down, and I find and look for the solutions in that. I will say my goal, my mission right here now in this moment is mastering the psyche, the mental, because the mental could be your best friend or your worst enemy. So I feel like for me now in this moment is living in that privilege of everything is obtainable. You are not yesterday, everything that I seek to do or want to do, I can and I will do. I'm giving myself that permission. I'm giving myself that parallel to jump into. And now I am at a place where the reality that I've created is now playing out.
Yeah.
Wow. So of course we all have our moments, our days and stuff like that, but one thing you got to think about with your problems is that you got to minimize them problems. I don't have problems, I have challenges, and I conquer challenges every day. Minimize.
Okay.
You are God of this, View yourself as such,
And I have a friend who does that. Yeah.
They on that brain.
I have a friend who always says, yeah, she says, don't sleep with your burdens. She says, don't say I am depressed or I am this, but say, I have this or I'm dealing with this, and so the power of I am and the power of the tongue, and whether that's something that whether that's something that someone wants to conscribe to, just sometimes acknowledging our placement with our issues can change the way that we tackle them.
Of course, yeah, because when you, and that's why the principles of permission, shift in the mental is so important. And the reason why I wrote it is because once I learned those mental hacks, because I wasn't who I was before, I had to birth this person, I had to birth this place I live in, I had to birth the relationship I'm in. I had to give it permission to coexist in my dimensions, my parallels. But I would say the main thing that I had to do was I had to shift the mental. I had to tell myself, everything you want is obtainable. If you want to go and get a glass of water, you can go get a glass of water. If you want to eat fine steak, you can eat fine steak. Who's stopping you? What's stopping you? Oh, yourself. Get out of the way of yourself.
First of all, I'm trying to keep some hair by the end of this interview, and you're snatching my edges right out, Seven. You're doing it.
I'm
because, okay. Seven, where can our listeners and friends find your work, your music, your art? You have a website, right?
Okay, I see the little chat thing popping up too. So booksby7.com is where you can find my journal line, which is restocking, and you can order books. I do personally sign and ship them, so you will get an autographed book. What's better than that? So you can, all my books are available on my website. I do have a book bundle happening for $35, which you can get the Blood Moon's Conversation with My Ancestors and the Principles of Permission, Shift in the Mental all together for one price. Get into that. And I am working on my 6th novel right about now. And the title, I can give you the title for it. I get a little exclusive with y'all.
Sneak scoop.
Right. A real, exclusive. The title for it is called Everyone's Selling Something. Did you buy it?
Okay.
And I'm speaking to the illusions and things of life.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so happy that you're creating. I'm excited to read that, get my copy. I want to thank you so much for coming in and talking with us. I'm going to turn this over into Patrick's hands now. Again, Sev7en Taylor was with us, and it was an amazing conversation. And we're so brightened by the vibrations that you put out to us.
Thank you. And thank you for just being a part of this conversation, both of you. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you both. That was awesome. Juan Carlos and I were back here being like, "Oh my God, this is so good, such a good talk." I'm pretty sure, Seven, that Juan Carlos is getting one of your books as we speak because he just asked me to send him the links.
Yes, I can't wait. I'm so excited.
And I will say that we will be proudly getting some copies of these books for the center's library too. So if you are not in a place where you can buy a book right now, you can still check out the book in our library. But I want to thank both of you for being here today. We love opportunities to celebrate our local creators and artists and writers and everybody in between. And you happen to be all of those things, Seven. So
thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And so, with that, I just want to say thank you again on behalf of the New Haven Pride Center to both Jonah and Seven. Know that, as always, the New Haven Pride Center is here for you at all times. You can go to newhavenpridecenter.org to get more information about our programming. I also want to just shout out to the fact that we announced Pride New Haven on last Wednesday. So go to newhavenpridecenter.org. There's a link right on the homepage to get all of the information about the nearly 50 events that we're doing for Pride in September. So with that said, thank you everybody for being here and have a good rest of your night.